Danny Fernandez is many things. He's a hip-hop and electronic music artist. In fact, in just over a week, he'll be in Regina to play a show celebrating 25 years as Def3. But he's also a son, and he's now a father. And he says this latest role has completely changed the way he sees the world, no doubt. Danny Fernandez is on the line right now. Hi, Danny.
Hi.
Looking forward to this conversation, learning more about you being a dad and learning about your relationship with your own father. The big question that we're asking people is, what did you learn from your dad? So, Danny, what did you learn from your dad?
My dad taught me a lot of things. I think probably the first thing is my dad's a very DIY guy. So a lot of, for example, say if the car breaks down, my dad will try to fix it first. Anything that he's building before hiring someone else, he'll try to do it first. And I think that really translated into even my career as music. The other thing I think, is just to be kind. He's an honest person, and he definitely is just kind of a fun person to be around. His love for music definitely shared through, but yeah, I think the one thing that really sticks out the most to me is just, his ability to really tackle anything. And he, obviously there's some things that not everyone can do, but he definitely will try that. Yeah, try himself first. So.
He try. Does he do it well, or is it more that you enjoy watching the effort that he puts into it?
No, he blows my mind with how the things that he can fix and the things that he makes. And yeah, it's honestly, and when I was younger, I used to just kind of be like, Dad, can you fix this? And then he got to a point where he was like, no, but I'll tell you how to do it. And I'll show you how to do it. And so, yeah, he kind of passed that on to me. So it's really something I'm really grateful for.
Where do you think your dad got those skills from? Why do you think he's like that?
You know what? I think partially due to, he grew up in Chile and his family, was they were poor, essentially. So I think a lot of that mentality comes from it was just kind of his only option. And he really appreciates the things that he has, as well as, when he has something like, for example, his vehicle, it still looks like the day that he bought it, everything. And so, yeah, I think he just, he has this kind of come from nothing mentality. So, yeah, I think that's probably where it started.
How would you describe your relationship with him these days?
We have a great relationship. I'm really grateful for both my parents. And, it was when you're a kid, sometimes it's easy to try to you're going to hide things, you're going to do things that you're going to rebel against what they tell you they can't. But at a pretty early age, just due to having good communication, my parents were pretty accepting of all the things that I do, good or bad. And still to this day, I think one of the main things that I, really appreciate, I'm lucky and I feel very blessed to have parents like them because, the times when I was getting in trouble, I had this realization that they're just doing it because they truly love me and they, so once I realized that, I don't think I ever argued with them again because I also, have other friends who never had parents or something happened to them. So I think I just really appreciate that and our relationship, especially, going through a few losses in life. I try to call them as much as I can, even to just pop in and say hi. And now that I have a daughter of my own, like before you go for, weeks or maybe even months without talking. And now it's almost like every day or every other day I'll say hello. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Amazing. How has music played a role in your relationship with your dad?
It's probably been the biggest binding thing for us. And so my dad was always very, he was always very hands-on, and same with my mom. And in the early 2000s, it took me a little while to, he always played in bands. He was always playing guitar and singing in the living room my whole childhood. And everywhere we went, he was performing. And it wasn't until I actually recorded his first band for him, and then that actually led to a collaboration that was on my first solo album. And I think once we started doing that, And then, eventually leading to starting a band with him, touring, recording music with him, shooting music videos. And I think it just, I see there's moments where I can look at him and I see him on stage and I know, especially thinking as a father, it's like, wow, that must be a cool feeling. And it's really brought us together even closer than we were. And also just, he's the type of guy that, I could bring him to a party even when I was in my 20s and he would be totally fine and have a great time and people would love to talk to him. So I'm really grateful for that.
Well, we've got some music that you've made together. So let's listen to Def3 with El Fin del Mundo. It's Def3 with El Fin del Mundo featuring your dad, Danny, Ramon Fernandez. Danny, how do you feel when you listen to that?
It brings me back. That song was a song that, honestly, I started that song in 2009 and it didn't come out until 2017. And so it was a journey and he was kind of one of the last pieces of the puzzle. And I initially wrote that song when I was traveling in South America and I was in a city called Ushuaia in Argentina, which their motto of the town is El Fin del Mundo. And I think I really understood a lot of, where he came from. It was my first time when I was traveling to South America without him. And, it really makes me happy to see that song out there and to have, I still perform that to the day or even renditions of that. So, I think it's a beautiful thing and it's something that I'll cherish forever. Yeah.
And now you're a dad yourself. You've mentioned that. How old's your child?
My daughter's about to turn 5 years old in a week or two here. So.
That's such a great age. I have a 5-year-old too. It's busy time. And so I'm wondering how becoming a dad yourself, how that's changed. Like, how did your understanding of your own dad change once you became a father yourself?
It was the most transformational and beautiful experience I think I've ever been through. And it's this way, I could go on for a long time about it. I'll try to keep it short. But essentially, I think as an individual, I'll be honest, I definitely lived a selfish life before I had a child. And not to say that that's a bad thing, but you really start to realize, especially with your time management, how much I guess freedom in a sense you have. But I think it took me and it made me far more efficient in life. I also started to, a lot of life, I think for everyone, it can be hard at different points. And it's easy to become jaded and to forget about how beautiful life can be. And I think once I had a child, you go through this humbling process of your experience and you start to look at things differently, as cliche as it sounds, like the grass is greener, everything. And it took me a while to understand that, as well as it also forced me to go through and heal a lot of my own traumas that I started to recognize. And then, how that relates to my own parents, I really started to see, things that I might not have understood before, their struggles, and the things and the ways that their relationship with their parents affected them. And I think that, overall, it's made me such a better person and it's made me understand so much more about life. And just to really, in a way, I think I felt that I was able to fall in love with life again. And, the older you get, sometimes that can be lost. And I've seen it, I've been through that. So I think just seeing, the excitement and the joy in a child's eyes when you give them the most simple thing is such a beautiful experience. And I try to think about that every time I'm with her, and every time that I see that smile on her face, and it just reminds me, that is really beautiful. That is a cool thing, and I think that's the most exciting thing about being a parent for me.
Are you finding ways to share music with her? I'm sure you are. I mean, if that was such a big part of your relationship with your dad, are you doing that with your daughter now?
Absolutely. We actually have written a song together already. I've written her a couple songs, and I'm not forcing it on her. She loves performing, believe it or not. She's constantly pulling even her classmates aside and singing, and I'm from when she was a baby, I was bringing her to the studio and we were always playing music for her. And now that she's a bit older, she can understand it. And you know, I feel like she definitely has the bug. She really enjoys like messing around with stuff, and she loves the sounds of music, and it's a big part of her own life. Like, it definitely is something that, you know, when she's feeling a certain way, whether she's sad or happy or frustrated or angry, often I'll ask her, like, what do you want to hear and play? And she has a song, and it's not just children's music that she listens to. So yeah, I hope that she becomes a part of it and she can eventually perform with me. So.
Has raising her, though, made it a bit more complicated to be a hip-hop artist at all? Like, when you first started out in this industry, you were, I'm assuming, thinking about being a dad and a hip-hop artist and how you'd balance it all. So now that you are living that, how has fatherhood changed things for you as an artist?
You know what? It's definitely, as far as time and things like that, it's harder. And I think you learn to appreciate it. I also understand a lot, like when other artists or friends, you know, maybe disappeared from music, because it is really tough to juggle. And it becomes like, how important is this versus spending time with my family? And yeah, I think that it's definitely added a challenge to it, but it's also given it a meaning, and it's given it a reason. And it's made me feel so much more grateful just to be able to do that and to share that experience. And even, you know, once I really was like, I always knew that I was going to be a dad, and it was always something that I wanted. And I think I always said I wanted to be at a point in my career where it wasn't going to cripple me or you know, basically end that. And I feel like I was lucky enough, I guess, to wait till that point and find a partner that was, you know, that understood my job and was also so supportive of it. And yeah, I feel, again, I can't say it enough. I feel super grateful to even be able to continue doing that, because I know a lot of people aren't able to do that. And so I hope to share as much of that with her as I can.
You've been working as a musician for a long time. I mean, you've got your 25-year career retrospective, the show coming up in Regina, and I understand that your daughter is going to be there. Tell us about the show and why you wanted her to be included in this.
So funny enough, it's like everything about this show honestly started around her and us coming to visit. Her birthday is right around that time. And I always I wrote a song about her. And we shot a video and did all this stuff. But due to the style of music that I've kind of transitioned into, she really can't come to any of these shows, which, you know, I'm generally playing raves, playing at midnight, 1 a.m. in the middle of forests, wherever. But when I thought about this, and, you know, I guess post lockdown and all this stuff, it's like a lot of the fans and stuff that I have are older, or maybe now, or have kids themselves. And so I thought of, okay, well, if we do an early show, I can have her come and I can perform this song for her for the first time. Because in the song, I talk about bringing her on stage for the first time. And I'm really excited for that experience. But as well as maybe, you know, we've been practicing for her performing. And I'm also, I wanted, you know, doing all ages events and having stuff that's early enough has always been a challenge, really anywhere. And so I'm glad that just having that opportunity. But a lot of this show was based around that. But the other aspect of it is, you know, I've always been a little bit outside the bubble in different cultures that I've been in. And I've never really took the time to celebrate that or myself, or even just surviving 25 years in the music industry, let alone the Canadian music industry. So I've never put more effort into this, and the style of show is something that I learned from, I guess, electronic music, which is doing like a 360 show where the artist is in the center of the crowd versus traditionally up against the wall or on a stage. And so I think all of that combined, I'm also doing 2 sets of this show where, because I have a lot of music that doesn't really fit the platforms that I play today. So I've broken it into that, where there's going to be like a throwback hip hop set that's earlier. And then, you know, the support act, Oakham. And then again, my more heavier electronic stuff at the end. But, you know, instead of the show or me starting at midnight, I'm trying to have it wrapped up by 11 o'clock or so. So I think
I like the sounds of that.
And that's the thing, like shows, you know, keeping it keeping it simple. And really that's something that I've learned. Like, you know, when you have so many acts at a show, people get exhausted. And so I'm excited to just experiment with this, but also just be able to go through my catalog and try this. And this is definitely not, you know, the first city that I'm going to do this in, but I wanted the first experience to be in the place that started it all for me, let alone even maybe the venue was one of the first venues I ever played. And the Exchange has been amazing in supporting me throughout my whole career. And so, you know, when I get the opportunity to play there, I feel like, so the shows, some of my favorite shows ever have been there. So I'm really excited to bring this new style of show to Regina.
Well, we've got a preview for people because we've got the song that's named Ronnie after your daughter. So why don't we take a listen? Okay, here we go.
Sounds great.
Here's Ronnie. That is Ronnie by Def3. Def3 is Danny Fernandez. Danny has been our guest today. I want to thank you, Danny, for such a thoughtful conversation. I really appreciate you being here with us and sharing some of your music with us. Thank you. Danny Fernandez, also known as Def3, he'll be performing in Regina at the Exchange on Sunday.